So, I really enjoy playing video games. Why so? Well, I think the most obvious reasons are the sheer amounts of enjoyment and fun I get out of playing them. A game with great gameplay can keep you bound in a dopamine loop that can only be broken by the need to go to sleep for something like a job. Wow, oh wow, or to hang out with a girlfriend or boyfriend. Ooh, yeah, cool. You're living just like our ancestors, foraging for berries and nuts, chanting in front of a fire just like Joe Rogan. Hey. Wow, nice. Games can tell compelling stories, engaging the player in worlds filled to the brim with masterfully created characters that will leave a thoughtful impression years after their release. All these things are great, but there's an aspect about video games I feel like needs to be appreciated more, and that's animation. In a medium where everything is shown through an intangible virtual world, you gotta get creative as a developer to relay information to your players. Music is a great tool for that kind of job. I mean, look at Left 4 Dead. A mastery of that game not only includes things like understanding campaign layouts, weapon types, and resource allocation, but also knowing the different musical stings that accompany enemy types or events can make the difference between making it to the safe room or getting your shit pushed in by a charger that decided to launch you off the side of the map. However, music is a completely different beast, typically taking on more of a passive role, though there's arguments to be made, yeah, Doom, I get it, than animation, which is a much more active tool, and in my opinion offers some of the greatest variety of enrichment for the player's experience of immersion, character expression, and gameplay. Now, good animation doesn't of course equal a good game, and bad animation doesn't equal a bad game. I think animation can be used as an amplifier, and if used correctly, can make an already great experience better. It all comes down to what you think about it. You may be someone who doesn't give two shits if there's good reload animations in your competitive first-person shooter, and that's fine, but I ask you, Skylar McLightning-Clicks, to just take a moment out from cross-map sniping people with an op in Valorant, and listen to your old pal Nox explain why he thinks video game animations are important. I think it would be fair to say that we humans are visual creatures all in all. We often rely on facial expressions and body language to tell how somebody is feeling. Like if someone is frowning huddled in a corner, I'm sure your first thought is to not open up with a terrible knock-knock joke. I'm certain that that's just going to make them feel worse. Or if you're in the middle of talking to somebody and you suddenly lose interest in the conversation, instead of rambling on until it ends, you can just give them the old 1,000-yard stare and growl method. Works like a charm every time for me. And a good example for this notion of visual expression comes from the original Final Fantasy VII, one of my favorite games. We all know and love Cloud for his cool as a cucumber aloof attitude, which is not only well represented through his dialogue, but also through his gestures, which if you've ever played the game, you might have noticed Cloud's little low-poly Roblox character model doing this little shrug thing in response to different situations. Or, although not really an animation, but whatever, crossing his arms like a real cool guy. Wait a minute. Cloud is crossing his arms. Ryan Gosling crosses his arms. Ryan Gosling is in the movie Drive. Holy shit, there's a Drive reference in Final Fantasy VII. Woohoo! Yeah, I love Drive. I love Ryan Gosling. Oh my god, the theme song is so good. Drive, drive, drive. Ooh, you gotta drive. Scorpion jackets, cars, diner scene filmed in fucking Denny's. Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense because Drive came out over a decade after Final Fantasy VII. Just because someone is crossing their arms, that doesn't mean that it's a certain reference to anything. I'm making a complete ass of myself right now. And it was Guile that was influenced by Stroheim and not the other way around. Oh. Well anyways, Cloud shrugging isn't just an arbitrary choice made by the developers. It's a gesture used to convey his I don't really give a shit what's going on personality, and is only a portion of this show don't tell technique that is used for other characters plenty throughout the game. It's a great way to allow these hunks of polygons to come to life, but those aren't the only times where the characters in FF7 are shown to express themselves through animation. Most notably, after a battle is finished, your party celebrates the victory with each character having their own little dance move going on. You got Cloud doing his sick-ass sword spin, Yuffie jumping a whole bunch because she's a spaz, Red 13 howling, well, because he's a fucking dog. And my favorite of them all, my guy Sid taking a smooth drag from his cigarette. There you go, man. Take it in, take it in. Cool ain't cold. Newport is. And since I'm here talking about a game from the 90s, I figured it would be a good time to shift focus onto a game series that had its start during this decade. One that still thrives, but has seemingly lost its way in presenting its characters in an interesting manner. And boy, I've been waiting forever to talk about this one. Yes, sir, I'm talking about Pokémon, yes, sir. Of all the choices Game Freak has decided to make over the 25-plus year run of this franchise, none gives me more heart palpitations than its transition to 3D. And that's because once this series went 3D, the effort and creativity of bringing the Pokémon to life were flushed down the toilet. No longer were our beloved Pokémons taking on dynamic poses, showing off their artistic appeal through simple yet effective animations, which I might add, were different upon nearly every subsequent generation of games. Instead, they became soulless husks, stripped of their personality, just standing there, menacingly. Once the mainline games went 3D with X and Y, all future releases use the exact same models for the Pokemon, doing the exact same idle animations with the exact same pool of animations that they swapped around for attacks and so on. Whereas in the 2D era games, when animated sprites were used, they were different across the generations, giving the player a new angle to view the Pokemon. Yes, imagination played a big part in bringing each battle to life, but it was the variation, the difference in what the developers were able to do with their limits in each game that, in my opinion, made a lot of these monsters appealing. This is such a vast topic that honestly I need an entire video to really explain how I feel about this. So I'm just gonna try and get my point across as simply as possible. Rhydon, yeah, woo! Everyone likes Rhydon, he's a fucking rhino monster, yeah, I guess. I actually have never met anyone that likes Rhydon. So I'm actually lying to all of you. Look at him in Crystal. Look at him. He's spinning his horn. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, in Emerald, he's yeah. You know? 4th gen, he's clapping. He's a happy big old rhino man. Woo. Black and white, he's bobbing up and down. Oh, he's doing the blah, blah. He's roaring. Now let's look at the 3D games. Oh. You see what I mean? Listen, I'm not saying with every game the models have to be doing different dances, like going from the hokey pokey to the yoinky sploinky, but holy moldy, exaggerate the movement some more! Okay, alright, I gotta stop myself here, otherwise I'd keep on going. Getting back to the main point here. Using animations for character expression can have tons of applications no matter what corner of the industry you go to. Games with silent protagonists can often rely on physical movement to convey to the player what the character is thinking. Like in Dead Space 1, Isaac is silent, but the animation of him nervously looking around the room time to time perfectly shows off his paranoia, as at any moment, a necromorph can just pop out of nowhere and turn him into kibbles and bits. In fighting games, taunts are not only used to annoy the shit out of your opponents, but alternatively can show off more of a fighter's personality. A lot of games have characters use facial expressions to convey what they're feeling. Yeah. Sometimes it works. And the list goes on. So although these animations are small details that can easily be overlooked in their execution, I think they go a long way in adding an extra bit of spice to a character's appeal, offering you a new avenue to appreciate them. Regardless if it's based on reality or not, if you want to sell a game's world, things like weapons, animals, people, weather, gotta stay consistent and make sense within their respective setting. You want to look at something in a game and be like, yes, I can see how this thing would fit within the context of the game. At least for me. I know immersion means something different for everybody, but from my perspective, it's about detail, believability, and functionality. I want the world I'm playing in to show off its intricacies, as obviously reality is filled to the brim with them. And wouldn't you know it, animation is a great way to immerse players, especially through a genre like first-person shooters. You ever been knee-deep in the zone? You know, the gamer zone, while playing something like Halo, and you just gotta unstrap the harness from your gamer cockpit to stretch your legs for a bit? Then you look at the screen and you see your Spartan inspecting their gun? Well, that isn't your game being haunted by the ghost of some dumbass kid that died and got sucked into it. That's an idle animation. There in those animations, you can often see the parts and functions of weapons that you would otherwise never get to witness during normal gameplay. And it's in these little, almost Easter egg level interactions that give more depth to the weaponry that exists within Halo's world. Like in all the Halo games, the rocket launcher's idle animation is its barrel spinning. My favorite version in particular is the original Halo's, as it shows the Spartan pressing the test button to make sure that the barrels rotate properly. Which makes sense, because if you're going to use this thing in combat to blow up something like a Wraith, you're going to want to make sure that it works properly. Moving on to the plasma pistol, the idle animation for that shows the Spartan pressing a button that pops open the lid on the gun. And this animation's cool because it shows that in case you want to check the inner workings of the weapon, you could just press the button and take a peek inside. Also, if it's overheating, you can manually vent it. And for one of the coolest weapons in the entire series, and one of my favorite idle animations, we have the Halo 5 Gravity Hammer one, where you can see a gyroscope inside of the head of the weapon that probably helps with stabilization. In keeping with the genre of first-person shooters, how about reload animations? They're another great avenue for immersing the player in the glory of war. Fuck yeah, war. Die for the thrill of war. Brought to you by the Lockheed Martin Corporation. Seriously though, a lot of games master this art, but one stands out the most to me, and that's Battlefield 1. Which on its own is a game that I still don't know how to feel about. Some days I love it, other days I'm like, yeah, at least it's not Battlefield 2042. Am I right or am I right? Thanks to the Frostbite engine and the amazing animators behind this project, many weapons from the Great War were able to come to life in striking detail. The reload animation for the Lebel, I thought at first was supposed to show it jamming up, and that's why the soldier slides the bolt back out. But it turns out that you actually have to do that in order to properly reload the gun. Cause I did some research and it seems like it has something to do with elevating the bullet into the chamber. I think the French had some sort of specific design philosophy behind their firearms at the time. So if you know exactly what the deal is with that reload, please leave a comment cause I'd love to know. Regardless, it looks great and you can feel the force, the crunch being put into reloading the gun. I love the Madsen reload as the soldier fumbles around with the magazine trying to pry it out. Bullets in the stripper clip for the Ross rifle are moving around loose. Outside of reload animations, you got first-person vehicle entry animations, POV shots of you being brutally murdered. I feel like it's 1914 all over again and that I'm gonna be home for Christmas. Good times. Good times. So, speaking of brutal murder, let's talk about Red Dead Redemption 2. This is easily one of the most detailed video games I've ever played. In the effort to form a breathable and believable world set in the late 19th century American West, the team over at Rockstar filled the game to the brim with an unfathomable amount of realistic animations. I mean, I can't think of one that doesn't make me go, oh my god. Oh my god, look, they put walking from real life in the game. Oh my god, that's so cool. Good job, Rockstar. Fuck yeah, Rockstar. Arthur will skin animals in grotesque detail, he'll thoroughly pat down bodies, he'll put a wheel on a wagon, and even the horses take shits. It's pretty nuts. All these things are great for immersion, but for gameplay, they're slogs. Look no further than
picking up items.
Arthur, the O'Driscolls have us pinned! We need your help! What are you doing?
Let's see here. Sweet potatoes? No, I don't want that.
Okay, now they have me hostage. Help!
I hear ya. Cocoa Krispies? Nah, everybody knows Cocoa Pebbles are better.
Arthur, they are going to kill me! Tell Abigail I love her!
There we go. John will be just fine. I'm bringing this up because when I talk to people about this game, I almost always hear about the animations, and I always find myself first at odds because I agree that sometimes they'll have you tearing cobwebs off your body once they're done, but then I think about how Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't really about being a video game, as it's more of an experience, if that makes any sense. Like, yes, you can have your video gamey quick motion animations, but I think going into this game and seeing it as Rockstar's attempt to capture life in 1899 America as viscerally as possible through meticulous details, that really paints a completely different picture for everything that's in it. How you want to play your games comes down to personal preference, of course. If you want to just play a game for the sake of it being a game, yeah, that works. But if you want an immersive experience, I think you should come to expect immense detail in things like reload animations, idle animations, or mundane tasks like eating a bowl of soup. Those animations might not be significant at face value, but I think it's important to consider how they engage you in the world. And just to throw this in for good measure now that I'm thinking about it, when there's a game with weapon durability mechanics, the developers can easily just throw in a little symbol or bar, blinking, telling you the quality level of your weapon, and really just have that be that. But in games like Far Cry 2 or New Vegas, as your guns degrade, animations start to appear of your character tinkering with the weapon, trying to get it to work again, which are great details reminding the player of the unforgiving nature of these games' worlds. So, the moral of the story is yes, I can believe I'm a cowboy trying to keep the spirit of the Wild West alive because my emaciated horse Beppis took a fat dookie, just like horses did in 1899, alright? I'm serious, you want me to be invested in your world? Get some animal shitting, alright? That's real life right there. So I think it goes without saying that animations aren't only important for character expressions and immersion, but are also crucial for gameplay. I'm gonna talk about Dark Souls, okay? I'm not even gonna beat around the bush, I'm not gonna dramatically build up to it, and there's one game that defines this. I'm not doing that. You know what this is, I know what this is, okay? Dark Souls and the rest of its emotionally abusive family are the poster children for animation's importance in gameplay. As a newly indoctrinated fan to the series, finishing DS1 a little over a month ago, I learned this the hard way, as at first I completely ignored the animations enemies would do before attacks, otherwise known as telegraphs, and would get my shit pushed in almost always. Like, yeah, you can definitely play this game by bum rushing enemies full boner, without discretion, but unless you're over leveled, it's very reckless and will most likely lead to you dying more often than you should because, well, if you didn't know, you die in Dark Souls. Did you know that you're gonna die in Dark Souls a lot? To master Dark Souls is to know thy enemy, to study their movements and learn how to play around them, while marinating in your own frothy bodily juices, as there's a catalog of attacks that each mob and boss have that really, no matter what, do a lot of damage. Unless you put on Havel's armor and cheese the game. So I'd say it's pretty important to clearly inform the player when an enemy is about to perform these attacks, because without an over-exaggerated movement, the player is not going to really have a chance to prepare, which in turn creates a frustratingly unfair experience. And this is what I meant earlier on when I was talking about the developers relaying information. Like the Souls games, other games with real-time combat like Cuphead or Hollow Knight should have clear visual tells to the player on what's happening, because otherwise the experience would be cheapened, not giving the player room to learn from their mistakes and grow. Like everyone and their mother knows at this point that when an enemy starts to puff up their cheeks or suck in their chest in literally any video game ever, they're going to use a projectile attack that typically does a lot of damage or lasts a long time. Like if you're a noob, a grimy little noob from a sweltering pit that's never played a game before, you may not pick up on those cues at first, but you'll eventually learn the signals for future playthroughs, giving you some payoff. So let's say the enemies instantly did those attacks with no warning. Sure, you may be able to still manage the fight, but it wouldn't feel as fair or rewarding as you're just being ass blasted with moves you had no idea were coming until the last second. That's part of the reason why I think video games with real-time combat are fun, and it's due to the process of getting to know how the enemies move and behave. If you can learn the visual triggers of enemies and what those attacks entail, you can piece by piece assemble a strategy for whatever fight it is that's giving you trouble. There's a pattern to recognize and adapt to, and if there's anything that makes electricity flow through our monkey brains, it's repetition. This rule doesn't just apply to PvE situations, as it's equally applicable to PvP ones too, like in fighters. Any good attack animation should have a discernible structure: the startup, the attack itself, and the cooldown. In a fighting game like Street Fighter or Smash Bros, knowing these phases of an attack is part of the combat flow. I can tell you personally, finding that window of opportunity to punish your opponent and finally play tic-tac-toe with their ass cheeks at a Smash Bros tournament is one of the greatest feelings on earth, next to getting married or whatever. By the way, this person brought in a modded Xbox controller to use on the Switch. This wasn't a prank, there weren't any cameras, there was no punchline. This guy walked into the room straight-faced, dead serious, with an Xbox controller, and beelined it for Wario. Godspeed to that man, you just can't make that shit up. I don't know, I've never seen anything like that, he was just a crazy, kooky little character. Back to what I was saying, that's why I respect fighting game pros a lot. Aside from remembering the buku amounts of combo strings, they have to study the animations of all the characters and know the ins and outs of their attack functionality. In a similar vein in shooters, combat flow is dictated partly by reload animations. And wouldn't you know it, our friend Reload Animations has returned from Tucson, Arizona to tell us a bit about how they matter for gameplay balance. Everyone say hi to Reload Animations. Alright, take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Reload Animations. And yes, aside from just being an aesthetic tool to get your rocks off in videos where guns are shot into the sky for 20 minutes straight, I actually serve a purpose and have meaning in shooters. You would be doing quite the slipshod job of not learning me for all the different guns in the game, as you'll have to mold your playstyle around how long I take. Not only that, but also if you learn the third-person animations from me, you can really stick it to the sweaty Melvin that's been gloating in the chat by blowing his head off into multiple tiny chunks, making his identity nearly unrecognizable to his friends and
Whoa, this kid's here. Alright, scram, get out of here. I knew bringing him in was a bad idea. Well, to kind of round out what he was saying, just like attack animations in the games I mentioned before, knowing the timings of reload animations are integral to gameplay balance. Like if you use heavy weaponry such as LMGs with traditionally large quantities of ammunition, there's going to be a pretty extensive reload to balance out the serious firepower that you're packing. Or to reach back to BF1, the rifles may have differing reloads, with stripper clips, loading individual bullets, or a mix of both. So knowing when to go out on the attack, guns blazing, and where to reload for a cooldown is something you'll want to think about in a firefight. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down at this point. Though all these games are wildly different, they all take advantage of animations for the sake of gameplay balance, as without well-constructed animations to inform the player, their quality can easily fall apart at the seams. Well, Skylar, I hope you learned something.
Fuck you, old man.
Alright, and there he goes. Gone with the wind. Guess I'll have to talk to you now. Yeah, you with your gut hanging out. Making this video was kind of weird for me because I felt that talking about video game animations can get kind of hair splitty. Because most games by default need animation, otherwise you would just have still static models floating around like ghosts. But I reminded myself that's more of a technical thing that's more superficial, and that animation serves plenty of purposes within different facets of gaming. So that pretty much wraps things up. This video was a little more brain dumpy than I would have liked it to be. Or maybe it wasn't, and that's just my degrading mental faculties getting to me. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it. Now I'm just waiting for an anthropomorphic wolfman to try and dissect the video.
You said that the bullets within the stripper clip of the Roth rifle move around, even though only one actually moved. You need to pay more attention. By the way, what kind of name is NoxiousNight? It should be called Nighty Night instead because this video was so boring. Nighty night, sleeping.
Yeah, so I have a fucking Twitter and Discord. So join the Discord if you want to chill and talk with people that are part of the community, and follow me on Twitter to get some updates on what's going on with the channel. I don't really use social media that often, so I'll try my best to stay active on the website. So yeah, like I said before, I hope you enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making it, so I seriously hope you did like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe I'll make a sequel to this one, or maybe I'll make a follow-up with like music or something along those lines. And with that, make sure to rate the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, you know the spiel. I'll see you around. Bye.